So just getting into these guys, obviously Brandon and Tom, they've built a good football team, and Coach Staley's done a really good job there in 3 years. Very talented team, no question about it. All three phases, very aggressive. They really do a lot of different things that you got to get ready for as you're preparing for them during the course of the week. I'd say in all three phases. Got some really, I'd say, key players that you need to know where they're at and where they're lined up, and they can hurt you quick. Whether that's Bosa and Mack on defense, Samuel, JC, Derwin James, Murray. They got really a lot of guys that create disruptive plays on defense, and then obviously Herbert is, and look at any category you want, he's really at or near the top of it in every situation. So has taken care of the ball. Obviously got a big arm, can move it down the field. They got a lot of big targets. Drafted another one in the first round this year in Johnston. Allen's obviously one of the best players at his position in the entire National Football League. Eckler, what can you say about Austin? Leads the league in touchdowns the last 2 years and catches the ball, blocks, runs with it after the catch. Punter, it's one of the things that stands out among all the things that they have and that they do well. The punter is one of the best, players, period. What he does and how he changes field position and the hang time. And DeAndre knows it firsthand because he was there, but, averages 4.8 yards per punt, which is the ball's up there forever. And you got to do a great job of catching it and taking care of the football. It doesn't give him a chance to return. So a lot of challenges. Excited, obviously, to go to LA. We usually have a great turnout there, and another division game on the road.
One of the challenges, part of the quarterback decision is out of your hands.
Yeah.
It's up to the medical people, but there's a chance that 3 quarterbacks could play or did you have to get 3 quarterbacks prepared to play? What are the challenges from a coaching perspective and coaching standpoint to that?
You can only do what you can do. Every meeting is productive. The guys that can't work, this is really every week for us. It just happens this week. It centers around the quarterback, but you got to get everybody ready to go in the meetings. We could incur an injury anytime in practice too. So we kind of, treat all our players as if they're going to be ready to go and they got to play. So this no different in that regard. The 2 guys that haven't played yet have done a tremendous amount of preparation for the first 3 games, and that won't change this week. So to me, if they're preparing the right way, it shouldn't, nothing should change just because they may have a better chance to potentially play than they would have the first 3 games. So use all of our time wisely, walk through, meeting. Jimmy's here and available to do all that stuff too in terms of the meetings. And then we're just going to go through the week and see where it all lies. But, we'll give the guys reps in practice. They usually get reps anyway to some degree, be a little bit more obviously if Jimmy's not out there today. So, we'll just kind of take it one day at a time, do the best we can, prepare them as hard as we can for today, and then we'll see what tomorrow brings.
Josh, it's obviously a pretty big gap in experience between Brian Hoyer, however many years he's been in the league, and Nathaniel Connell as a rookie.
Yep.
What goes into the decision-making process when you have a player that's way more experienced than the other in terms of who gets the opportunity?
I think you just evaluate it, in real time. You're right. Experience is valuable. And at the same time, we'll try to play the right person based on what the situation is and how practice goes, if that's what it comes to, So I think everybody's going to get ready to go, and I think sometimes, experience is a good thing. It doesn't mean that it's going to determine how it's going to go for one guy versus another. There's a lot of guys that don't have a lot of experience that can play well, because they're prepared and they do the right thing to get ready, and they go out, and ultimately what matters is how they perform, not how long they've been in the NFL or how many games they've played in or what have you. So both guys will get ready to go. Both of them have an opportunity in practice, and like I said, we'll see how Jimmy progresses as we go through the week.
Been in situations before where, somewhat similar. And you had a veteran guy and a younger guy, and history has shown that you have played the younger guy. What is it that you need to see from the younger guy, or to feel comfortable that he's going to be able to go out there and handle the situation.
Just, I mean, look, we're trying to play the guys that will help us, have the best chance to win. So, consistency of performance, understanding the plan and his job and his role in it. Again, that would be for any position. It could be for the center, the guard, the receivers, whatever it is. You got to do a good job of making determinations on that, and Curtis Bolton's got a little bit of a thing he's dealing with, and so he's been our PP, which is not an unimportant job either. So again, we're trying to make decisions about what we think gives us the best chance to be successful in each phase, and that's what we'll do today, this week.
Obviously, he's going up against his former team, but how beneficial has DeAndre Carter been since he's been in the locker room and special teams?
Yeah, you always kind of know, when you have players that played somewhere else, for a specific coaching staff, you get a little bit of a, an inside look at, maybe some of the things that they do and why they're doing them or how they teach them or what have you. So every team, we try to take as much information as we can from those kind of players. I'm sure they would do the same thing. Every team, I think, does it. So DeAndre is very bright, so he understands, what he remembers from, his time there. Obviously, each year is different. Each team goes through a lot of changes. There's different things that they could do. And I've always kind of taken that with a grain of salt because, they know we have guys on our team that know some of their terminology and language. And if you're just going to, we try to do the same thing. You might use the same word, but it might mean something different, because that they, they know and all the rest of it. So you got to be careful about how much stock you put in that. But, he's given us a great just synopsis of what he recalls.
How practical is the potential of moving through the process for Jimmy in a week? I mean, is that something that can happen? And
sure.
It's something that, is possible.
Yeah. He's already moving through it. So, again, it doesn't mean that we know what the ultimate end result will be. But he's doing good so far. And, again, that's out of my jurisdiction. So we'll just find out, when they tell us.
Would you need to see him practice this week, or if it happened like Saturday, would that?
We'd have to, obviously make a decision. I think every player is probably different in that regard. Just kind of see where we at. I don't want to speculate on a hypothetical on that, but each player would have to be, evaluated in that regard, how comfortable they feel as part of that process too. It's not just, how I feel or somebody else. They would have to feel comfortable with being able to play without practice, which is part of the equation.
Just to be clear, Josh, he's still in the protocol.
Yes, sir.
Still working his way through.
Yes, sir.
So he can do the meetings and things
yes.
in-house.
We can't do anything right now. At this stage, we're not doing that today. But again, like I said, it's moving. We'll see how fast it moves.
When you look at the offense, you've got a bunch of leaders that kind of lead by example. Do you have that guy that you feel like stands out and kind of is that vocal leader as well?
We have a bunch of guys that honestly speak, and I think, there's a lot of different forms of leadership. JJ's a very passionate, can be very vocal leader. I think Devontae does a really good job of, addressing things that he feels need to be addressed. And it's not always negative. I think a lot of people attach leadership to adversity, and that's definitely one part of it. But I think there's also another element to it where, you got to emphasize both sides, and when it's going good and it's positive, it's great leadership, and when you need something else, then you got to be able to know that. So I think those guys do a good job. I think Jimmy does a good job. I think Kolton, does a good job. I think all our captains have really stepped up in different ways. Again, there's not two leaders that are the same. I've never been around two guys that are identical in that regard. So some guys will do it personally. Some guys will do it in front of the group. Some guys will do it in the moment at practice. Some guys, do it in the meeting room, But leadership takes on all forms.
Josh, you started this off, mentioning Brandon and Tom. I guess how important is that fraternity to you guys of people that have come from John Carroll, and how tight are you guys all still in the league?
I'm tight with the guys that are here. There's some relationships across the league for sure, and I have a great deal of respect and admiration for the two guys we're getting ready to compete with over there. There's another guy, Tom. There's other people besides those two that are there, and they do a phenomenal job. They're also great people. I think everybody takes a lot of pride in it. Small school in Ohio. We all went there to try to play football because, we weren't getting offered scholarships and full rides to go somewhere else, and most of us just kept playing because we loved the game, and we also wanted to try to find a place where we could do it, where there was an opportunity to get a great education and, put ourselves in a position to provide for our families down the road. I don't know that any of us went there thinking we were going to go into the, National Football League or do anything like that. I certainly didn't. I think there's a lot of pride in what some of those guys have done. I think we all try to give back as best we can to the school and the university. I think the university does a tremendous job of staying connected to us. I think to answer your question, I think there's a lot of us that have strong feelings about, the guys that have been able to make it and are very supportive of one another.
Josh, the obviously made some changes in the offseason, courageous draft just like every year. How would you evaluate the newcomers, how they've impacted the team so far?
There's a lot of changes on our team, and I'd say that's the same. Most teams are in that same situation. I thought obviously we've gotten some guys that just came here that became captains quickly, which is, I think, a tribute to them and what they've done. They've invested themselves in our program and our culture and really made an impact on other people. I think we're, like we talked about the other day, our young players that we've drafted are, coming along, and, they learn every day, one way or the other. They either do it right or we feel like we make some progress because we learn from a mistake. So, I think all of that stuff is still fresh. We're still in September. We want to just keep plugging along here. I think we have a long way to go and a lot of things to go through and a lot of improvements to make. So, but I've been really impressed with a lot of the veteran players we've added, and then the attitude and the approach by the young players to try to acclimate to that style and that work pace and everything else. They got a lot of good people to learn from.
Very good. A couple minutes ago, you were just talking about how each leader you've been around has been different. Can you just describe the leadership style of Kolton Miller and what he provides to the offensive line? Consistent,
tough, really approaches his job the right way, wants to do it the right way, asks good questions, practices hard. He doesn't, sometimes you don't hear him a lot because he's just kind of a softer spoken guy in that regard, but when you watch him play, there's a different aggression to him. And again, it's just consistent, a consistent performance. He's been out there every day, just, working at his craft, puts out a really good product and does his job at a really high level. And I think there's a lot of people that see that and try to emulate that with their own day. Good to go? Okay, thank you.